Okay, so thought I'd just use the voice to do this introduction.
Alright, go for it.
You will watch our entire review of Dune 2. Remember to like and subscribe, and leave a comment.
Spice up your life.
See ya, hold tight.
Hello and welcome to Woodshed Reviews, where we look at films old and new, good and bad. On today's show, we're looking at Dune Part 2, possibly Dune Part 1 as well, I would imagine, and David Lynch's 1984 adaptation of Dune will possibly get a mention.
Oh man, it's going to be a long show. Didn't sign up for this.
You are not prepared for what is to come.
Are you a Dune fan, a fan of the Dune-iverse?
No, I haven't read the book. So I'm a big David Lynch fan. Consider most of his films masterworks, apart from Dune, which I watched once many years ago. Vowed never to watch again. But after watching Dune Part 1, I thought I'll revisit David Lynch's Dune.
Yeah.
And I could appreciate it a lot more now.
Fade. Lovely fade.
Likewise to you, I wouldn't really say I'm a huge Dune fan. I've read the book, I've seen all the films now, and I still would say, yeah, I can appreciate Dune, but I don't think I can say that I love it. So we'll get that off the bat right to begin with.
Yeah.
Having read the book, I found Dune to be a little dry.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, no, but I think that's accurate. It works as a pun as well, but I think it is it's a difficult read. Certainly doesn't hold your hand with it, and I think the films follow suit from that, so they are quite faithful in that kind of adaptation.
Yeah, because I believe Lynch's Dune tried to be very faithful to the book.
From what I remember, it's more faithful, but it does leave a lot out because it's a much shorter film. It's like Dune, Lynch's Dune is 2 hours and maybe a little bit, whereas the combined Dune Part 1 and Part 2 is about 5.5 hours.
So far.
So, so far, we'll get into that. Yeah. You're a big Lynch fan, and I think that's a general kind of consensus about his film. All kind of great films to different degrees, apart from Dune.
Yeah.
And I can kind of see that as a Lynch appreciator. I can kind of see it's obviously a difficult project, and it's not an easy watch. But watched it again this week for the first time in a while. And yeah, plenty to appreciate in it.
Yeah, definitely a lot. I mean, the sets are amazing. The costumes are interesting. A lot of kind of Lynch kind of stuff in it, like machinery and gadgets, and yeah, just his style.
Still, it's a difficult watch. I think the first hour or so is fairly strong, fairly able to kind of follow it and be coherent with it, particularly if you've read the book and all that. Then it kind of like becomes very choppy and very messy at the end.
It does, yeah. It seems to skip forward a couple of years, and you could feel it was tampered with a lot there. I think a lot was probably cut out, and wasn't very cohesive.
Definitely not towards the end, no.
Yeah.
So skip forward nearly 40 years, is it? Yeah, 40 years.
Gosh.
And we've got Dune Part 2 following on from a couple of years ago, Dune Part 1 by director Denis Villeneuve and an ensemble cast.
You're a big fan of the director.
Yeah, I really like him. Some of his early stuff, Incendies is really good, and then since then he's been all English language films. But I think Blade Runner 2049 was his last film that he did before Dune, and for me that's a modern kind of masterpiece. It's up there with the original, which is no mean feat. So I was looking forward to it, and went back to Dune Part 1 this week, second viewing. I enjoyed it a bit more than the first time.
I'm the same. First time I didn't really care too much about it, but on a second viewing got into it a lot more. And I got a feeling that's going to be. I'm going to have a similar feeling with Dune Part Two. I didn't really take to it that much.
Sure.
And like yourself, I felt a bit underwhelmed by it when it came out. But I feel like once I give it another go, I'll enjoy it more, see a bit more in it, appreciate it more. But similar to Dune Part One, I felt it was an incomplete story. It wasn't self-contained.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a big question mark for me, because I assumed that this was just an adaptation of the first Dune book split across 2 films, because it's so epic, such a big story, such a long book, and to give it justice, do it over 2 films.
Yeah.
Fine, I thought that's the way it's going to be, which it kind of is. It does tell the story of Dune from a slightly different vantage point, I think, towards the end.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's certainly seems to be taking its own sort of like course with that, and that's okay. But then it does seem to not have an ending. It does seem to be like the middle part of a story. I'm going to assume that, because there's books after Dune, I'm going to assume that they're maybe going to be looking towards doing that.
Yeah, I think the next part, I think I heard it's going to be called Dune Messiah.
I think that's the next book in the series, yeah. And it follows, as far from what I remember, it follows Paul Atreides. I think after the second book, it starts to kind of veer into different territories. So I'm wondering if it is more of a sort of like, this is like almost Part Two is a sort of middle ground film, which would kind of make sense, I think, when it came out of it. I kind of thought, that was not an ending, really, to the film. It felt like more like, I don't know, something like The Empire Strikes Back or something like that. You know, when you get that. It's an ending, but obviously there's more to come. But I wasn't ready for that. And so maybe I need to kind of go back and watch it under that proviso.
Yeah, I think I need to reserve judgment till I've seen all 3 films.
Yeah.
For sure.
The day of prophecy has finally arrived. The Kwisatz Haderach has arisen. The princess must prepare herself for what is to come.
You've been preparing me my whole life.
As we're talking a couple of days after the film's release, there's no definite sort of statement about a Part 3, is there? Is there?
No, I heard Hans Zimmer said he's already started work on the soundtrack, so maybe...
Well, you heard it here first, so...
Steady on, don't quote me.
They took everything from me. Do you know why they killed your father?
Consider what you're about to do, Paul Atreides.
Silence!
You don't really get attached to any characters. You've got Paul Atreides, who's supposed to be the hero. I suppose you're supposed to be following his journey. Yeah. But you're not really privy to what's going on inside his head.
Definitely not towards the end.
Yeah.
Maybe to begin with, probably would be fair, but he's perhaps not the most... He's not unlikable, but yeah, he is a little bit... I don't know, what's the word? Sort of standoffish as a character, maybe.
Yeah.
Don't feel really warm to him. He's a bit aloof, and I guess he kind of starts from quite a high privileged kind of position. He doesn't feel like somebody you can kind of connect to, and he's already in the midst of all this lore with the voice and the Bene Gesserit, and
yeah, that's right. His mother's a witch, and
we'll just say witch.
Yeah,
the Bene Gesserit, but it doesn't roll off the tongue really.
No,
and there's a lot of that stuff in
right.
the film. So.
And I think she's been involved in crossing bloodlines for thousands of years. Yeah. And they're trying to create the one, or a messiah.
They're trying to create the Kwisatz Haderach. No, I'm going to get that wrong.
Oh, he is the Kwisatz Haderach.
Yeah, a lot of lore, a lot of names.
Yeah. But it feels like they're all talking about the same thing, like a chosen one, the one, the Messiah, this sort of thing.
Yeah, and you don't know how much he's bought into it. Is he think, I'm the one?
He hasn't to begin with. He's quite, I think, in the book and in these adaptations, he feels quite indignant towards his mother about things that she's done.
We gave them something to hope for.
That's not hope!
And she's definitely, in part 1 and 2 of these films, she's definitely a greyer character, I think. There's not like, and maybe that goes for a lot of the characters as the film goes along. It seems like there's a kind of, Atreides are the good guys, the Harkonnens are the bad guys, and certainly visually, that's quite strikingly the case.
Yeah.
But it kind of, there's a bit of mingling in there, is there?
Yeah, we're not quite sure what's going on. whether they are the good guys, really. Because they're all after spice, the control of the harvesting of spice. This was a kind of mineral type thing that's very rare and it's only exists
on Arrakis,
on this planet.
On this planet. Feels quite overpowered. Certainly, like as it's introduced in the Lynch film, they kind of like have a big information dump at the start, and it's sort of like it prolongs life and health and fitness among the Fremen, who are the indigenous people, but it also helps with folding space-time so that people can travel vast distances, and without spice you can't do it. So it feels like it's carrying a lot of narrative baggage there.
I don't know if you felt it, but it felt like almost like a metaphor for oil, like maybe in the Middle East.
Yeah.
People are trying to, take control of it.
Aye, there's definitely a lot of sort of analogies with things like that in terms of exploiting indigenous people, lands, religious analogies and all that kind of stuff, which, a book written in 1965, but these things are fairly eternal, I think. So kind of it's not like it's particularly prophetic, it's just these things are always kind of the case, it never really changes. The location might change, what people are fighting over might change, but...
big themes.
Big themes in it, definitely. It's a more adult kind of, in a thinking man's sort of sci-fi opera, I suppose. Political intrigue and all that kind of stuff meshed in with it. Sort of like probably what the Star Wars prequels thought they were trying to be, I would say.
So uncivilized.
But so this is definitely, I like this. There's a lot of like religious analogy, obviously, of the Chosen One and him coming back. And then there's a group of the Fremen, which I enjoyed. They're kind of different factions within there. I think that we were saying like Javier Bardem heads up the sort of older order who almost anything that Paul does, they are like, what is it, as it was written.
Yeah, if Paul got eaten by a worm, it's like, as it was written.
So it was kind of reminding me of Life of Brian or something like that.
Hail, Messiah! I'm not the Messiah! I say you are, Lord, and I should know. I followed a few. Hail, Messiah!
But you've got the younguns headed by Zendaya.
I thought she was the most interesting or relatable character in Dune Part Two. She was very sceptical of the whole thing. Trying to, I guess she has a romance with Paul,
which I thought was very good.
Yeah,
I thought that was well developed over the course of the first sort of hour or so of the film.
Yeah, and then he seems to kind of change his way, change his path.
Yeah, I think you were saying, do we get a glimpse into the inside of Paul's head? And I think possibly not. And I don't know if that's intentional or not, because we don't know if he's, as we're saying, we've got these two factions pulling him back and forth, and I don't know if at the end he believes he's the one, or he is the one, or whether he's
playing the role just so he can take control of the people.
Yeah, and instigate, effectively, spoilers, I mean, at this point, way beyond spoilers, but it ends up instigating the Holy War. It's an interplanetary battle between all these other houses.
Many that we haven't met yet, I believe.
No, they kind of just talked about that they're kind of like, they're hovering overhead or something like that, and they're like, they do not accept his ascendancy to the throne with the Emperor and stuff like that. So it feels like that's setting up Part 3,
definitely
4, 5.
Yeah, it feels like it's just about to start, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, we're like 5.5 hours into it, and it's like, now we're getting started, and it's like, whereas something like was heavily influenced by this, like Star Wars, like, Episode 4 kind of basically starts at that point where the battle's kind of raging and all that kind of stuff. It feels like we've kind of, come a long way, and it's like, oh, now we're starting. And maybe, if you're not a huge fan, it's a lot of investment into this series, I guess, so far.
Yeah.
And it's not that, it's all well done. I mean, visually, looks great. It's got a great ensemble cast. Everyone's kind of well used in it. It knows when to hold back with the action stuff, and you don't feel like you got a storming headache from watching ships and that fly about and blow things up, even though you get all that. But it's done.
Yeah.
It's done well, and it's done He knows when to hold back and he knows when to give you that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the action was really good. Nice choreography in the fight scenes.
Plenty of visual spectacle and action and entertainment and all kinds of stuff, and lots of sort of, as we're saying, lore to get your teeth into if that's your thing. There is a lot of that, I think, and it doesn't hold your hand with it.
No, it's like if you didn't catch it, then you're lost.
You were told to bear only daughters, but you in your pride thought you could produce the Kwisatz Haderach.
Was I wrong?
You're lucky he didn't die in that room. If he is the one, he has a long way to go. His sight is barely awakened, and now he goes into the fire.
Yeah, because I think the director says he's not a fan of feature films having lots of dialogue. It's more about the visuals, which is fair enough, but you need to get your message across.
Yeah. Aye. I think there's definitely an issue with that. I think rewatching them definitely helps.
Yeah.
I would say the book helps, but it's been so long since I read it that it's. But it would certainly, if you've read the book in the run up to these films.
Yeah, I can imagine if you're a big fan of the books, then the films are a great kind of companion piece.
Yeah, aye. I mean, it seems to be, and it seems to have hit a chord with people and all that, and I kind of totally appreciate that and understand.
When you see sand here, imagine water. If you dive in, you can't reach the bottom.
You dive in.
Yes, it's called swimming.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, so it's difficult to reserve total judgment till we've seen it all play out.
Yeah.
But then again, you've got other great works like Lord of the Rings, where you have like 3 separate films that are quite self-contained stories that are a bit more satisfying.
Gandalf, my old friend, this will be a night to remember.
Yeah, and they've got plenty of lore and stuff as well with them, but I think it's possibly there's an easier inroad with those sort of films. Dune is definitely like, you've got to do your homework effectively.
Yeah.
And I think I've done my homework. I've read the book, watched the films and all that, and I'm still like, I still feel like I'm failing the test. So I wouldn't pass the Bene Gesserit hand test.
I mentioned the hand test. It's quite remarkable how similar a lot of scenes, especially in the first Dune, like Dune Part 1, was compared to the original film.
Yeah.
It was that scene, there's a scene where they described how the suit works.
Yeah.
And the scene with the hunter-seeker.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of enjoyed the Lynch one up to a point, a little more this time. It's slightly different. It's not so serious.
No, it's a bit more fun.
It's a little more fun, and I think that might be a problem with the Villeneuve films, because it takes a very serious thing and it cuts a lot of the more. There are some silly things in Dune for my liking. I know that fans get to be like, what? But for my liking, there's some silly elements, and that's kind of fine, that's okay. But when you're trying to do it super serious and super grounded, and then you have the slightly sillier elements in it, it stands out a little more for my liking.
Yeah.
So
I didn't go for the sound effects that people make when they're firing their weapons in the original Dune.
Yeah, exactly. Aye, that was all the weirding way.
Was that that?
Yeah. So they don't do that.
Yeah.
But then you have some things like you still have to ride the sandworms. It's done well, but
it's done really well.
But at the end of the day, I am like, this is a little bit silly. And then when they're doing the walking on the sand, they kind of talk about that, and they have to do a weird kind of walk.
Yeah, it can't be a rhythm.
Yeah, and they kind of talk about that in the Lynch film, but then they immediately just don't follow up with it.
Okay.
But they could with that film a little more. But with the new film, it's like, it's a bit silly. And it just sticks out a little more because it's such a super serious take on it. And there's some characters maybe have a little more levity going for them. I think Jason Momoa in the first one, possibly, what's his name, Josh Brolin.
Oh yeah, and he was played by Patrick Stewart, I think.
Yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, I was thinking that this new Dune has got like an ensemble cast. It's quite impressive. But so does Lynch's one.
Oh yeah, Max von Sydow.
Max von Sydow makes an appearance. Dean Stockwell, Ziggy from Quantum Leap. Patrick Stewart, as you said. There's a few others as well. And I'm just going to say as an aside note, the artwork for the posters for Dune Part 1 and Part 2 are terrible. It's like the worst sort of floaty head thing I've seen for a long time.
Oh, is that the one of all the heads? Yeah.
Yeah. And I looked into something about it, and apparently it's all the actors' agents kind of saying, they all need to have the same sort of head height space and be in the same plane and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we're never going to get a Dune poster like one of the classic Drew Strausen sort of posters or something like that, which they really could use.
It's not a prophecy. It's a story.
Holy mother.
And I'm kind of wondering, are we kind of like the guys that would have been poo-pooing Empire Strikes Back?
Back in the day,
after the first viewing.
The Empire Strikes Back has no plot structure, no character studies, let alone character development, no emotional or philosophical point to make. It has no original vision of the future.
Yeah, I felt just a bit underwhelmed coming out, but there's so much to admire in the film, and I kind of want to reserve my judgment till I've seen all 3 parts. Hopefully it's a trilogy.
Yeah.
And then see how it plays. But on first viewing, I have to give it a 3. But yeah, I do recommend it though if you're into your sci-fi kind of stuff.
Yep, definitely. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to give it a 3. And I think I'm definitely going to watch it again, and I think I could probably bump it up if it goes along the same path as Part 1 did for me, which I would probably give Part 1 like a 3.5. And I possibly would have given that a 3 to begin with. So yeah, I can kind of see a bit more potential in it with future viewings, and as you're saying, as we get more films, how much I'm going to be on the journey for this will be dependent, I suppose, on how much further we have to go.
May thy knife chip and shatter.
That's our thoughts on Dune Part 2. Let us know what you thought. Did we get it wrong? Possibly we have. We'll get back to you in a couple of years' time with Dune Messiah. We'll see how that goes. But for now, that's all we've got for you, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.